Okay. All right, today on What's Your Specialty, we have a new friend of mine, Donny Churchman from Nack Development. I'm excited to talk with him about the opportunities that he's got going on in the Frisco area and beyond. Very unique story, a lot of synergies related to sports that we've had in the previous shows. So I'm interested to know more about his story and for him to tell us about it. So appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
So, Donny, we were kind of talking about your journey into Texas, and now you're a native, obviously. But previous to, let's start from the very beginning. We'll start from high school. You're a baseball player. What'd you do as jobs? Did you have jobs, or you kind of watched your parents, or how did that look like for?
I got good lessons from my mom. It was a single mom raising us. She came up kind of through city government and got into economic development out there.
Okay.
Before that, she did some architectural work. But I got to see her work hard as a single mom, raising my sister and I. But then trying to bring businesses and recruit businesses to the county she was working for. Mm-hmm. And then also I had a grandmother and grandfather that were in local politics in Pasadena, California.
Okay.
Where my grandmother was mayor of Pasadena.
Wow.
My grandfather was on planning commission. He had his own engineering firm. So I got to see how they did things.
Yep.
As well. And my grandfather was the type that he was in the corner in the chair. He had this chair we sat in, and he just watched, mm-hmm. right? And then finally he would say something. And he was one of those guys that listened for a long time before he had a chance to impact you. Mm-hmm. So I just got to learn a lot from them and how they did things and how they interacted with people. And then sports a huge component. I'm extremely competitive.
Yep.
I just got done with baseball this year. Coached my last game.
Okay.
I was coaching a club team here locally, and I've been in baseball since I was 5 years old. So
what was the club team?
It was the Frisco Black Cats.
Frisco Black Cats.
Yeah.
Do you have kids on the team, or are you just
my 15-year-old son was on the team. He's a sophomore now in Frisco, and so it was a bunch of 15-year-olds.
Okay.
We were playing on that circuit and just getting them ready to play at that next level. So that was fun. And they threw like a retirement party for me. I'm
awesome.
too young to retire, but so we're done with baseball, but so many lessons learned through baseball. And I also actually played basketball through high school as well.
Wow.
So that's actually my favorite sport.
Really?
I love basketball.
Do you play anything today, or you golf, or?
No, I play with the remote. Just starting to get back into shape, and my knees are shot.
Man, my knees are shot too.
Yeah.
I still drag myself out to the basketball court. I went the other night. A guy called me about some deals, and it was about 9 o'clock, and he said, "Hey man, is this too late?" I said, "No man, I'm going to the gym." He was like, "What gym?" I was like, "Go shoot some hoops." He was like, "What? At 9 o'clock at night?" I was like, "Man, this is the only time I can get it in. Put the kids down and sneak out, kiss the wife, and go out to the gym, man. Try to keep living the dream in the head until your knees like no more."
Yeah, my knees are already no more.
I wear these. I found a secret to give me probably another year or two. I got Air Maxes that have the air cushion all the way through it, not just on the heel, like all the way through it. So it kind of replicates, I guess, the cushion in my knees.
Okay.
It's giving me another year, I guess, until the treads are completely gone.
Right.
I'm bald now. I got bald tires, but I'm just trying to hang on, man, as long as I can.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah. So going back to sports, so sounds like you were pretty good in high school, so it allowed you to maybe play college sports?
Yeah, I went on and went to UC Davis my freshman year to play baseball.
Okay.
Didn't really like the experience there and transferred to California Lutheran University. Played baseball there for the final 3 years of college. Went to a couple College World Series. Took second in the nation one year. We were up 5-1 in the eighth and lost 6-5.
Oh wow! What position you play?
I went as a shortstop. I left as an outfielder.
Okay. Is that good or bad?
Hey, I got to play.
Yeah,
so
that's
good,
all that matters.
Right? It was a fun experience. some of the best friends ever you make in college. The guys I'm still involved with. One of my buddies, one of my teammates, he still lives out in California, but he's writing insurance policies for me on my projects.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was really cool.
It's almost like a fraternity. I played college basketball as well, and just rec, and what you're doing with the youth sports. And the thing I most love about participating in sports is just, it's almost like an extended family, because you go through, with your traveling teams and that kind of deal. You do so much with those teams. Like when you leave, it's almost like you're leaving your family, because your road trips, you're on games. It's when the guys say they leave the game, it's not probably the game as much as the relationships that they hate missing that camaraderie. They don't even know what to do with themselves.
Absolutely. And what I'm doing now, a lot of my partners on it are former Major League Baseball players or current Major League Baseball players, and to see them interact with each other, it's like, okay, I remember those days, and they're still going through it, and have that camaraderie, and it's pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. So, kind of going forward, as you're in graduate from school and kind of taking on the next journey, where'd you kind of get into what
I got into politics.
Really?
I thought I was going to have my own lobbying firm.
Okay.
And so I went into the California legislature as an aide for an assemblyman.
Okay.
And quickly realized I did not want to be there.
Yeah.
And I became a lobbyist for the Building Industry Association.
Okay.
And that was my entry into development. And it was a great entry because you learn everything from A to Z about what's going on in home building and just the industry itself. And went from there after kind of cutting my teeth and working with local city councils and county governments and things like that, and lobbying on behalf of the members. Went and worked for the largest land developer. It was a spinoff of Angelo Sakopoulos in Sacramento. Started to learn land development through that.
Yep.
And then went and worked for a home builder, Christofferson Homes. I think we did roughly 450 homes a year as a company.
Wow.
Leading up to the crash.
Okay.
And then when the crash happened, the crash happened.
Yeah, out in California.
But I did have an amazing mentor there that was the CEO for Christofferson, a gentleman named George Casey.
Okay.
He actually still writes an article for Builder Magazine.
Really?
Called By George.
Okay.
And he gave me literally the best advice when the market was crashing, and as a young man with a young family, I'm starting to panic. What am I going to do? Because I know they're going to call my number at some point, and this is going to be over. And he says, you know what? Worst case scenario is you'll be selling pencils on the side of the street, and you'll make it.
Yeah.
And he's right. You get through it, and here we are on the other side now, and a lot of lessons learned through that downturn, and lessons that maybe Texas didn't get to feel as much as California did, or Arizona or Florida.
Yeah, I lived in Arizona when you were out in California. I lived in Phoenix when the housing prices was going through the roof, and then the bottom just got taken out from underneath it. And I bought just before it was taken off. They were saying, hey, this house is going to be $10,000 more tomorrow if you don't buy it today.
Absolutely.
That's the average, going up $10,000 a day, 5, 10, 7,500. Oh, it's up $50,000. You're like, from a day ago?
Right. Everyone had to get in the game, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
Right?
And then as it was coming down, so we were in Phoenix for 3 years. So as it was coming, that third year, as it was coming down, everybody was so infatuated about where their equity was. Either they were doing cash out refis or doing all these things, and they couldn't get out from underneath it because they were like, oh, we got all this equity, it's not going to go anywhere. And I sold at 50% of what everybody said I should have sold, and it got 50% lower than that number.
Yeah. Yeah, I looked recently. The last home I owned there still is not worth what it appraised at.
Wow.
Yeah, so they still aren't back.
Phoenix is actually, I don't know if it's come back to just about where it probably should be, because it was so, I mean, there's not a lot of, industries in Phoenix. You got the snowbirds, and they had overbuilt so much, it was unbelievable. People were moving from California to Vegas. Vegas people were moving from Vegas to Phoenix.
Well, and that's what's great about Dallas, right? Yeah. And how we ended up here was, where is a metroplex that has multiple industries. Right. So when one softens, others can pick it up. Right. And to me, Dallas is the best one in the country, right? That when a softening comes, it'll be insulated from being hit as hard as other areas. Like, for example, I was in Sacramento. Mm-hmm. Sacramento's a real estate and government town. Yep. Right. Where Dallas, you and I were talking that there's so many industries here. Yep. That it will soften any blow. Yeah. And it's been pretty consistent. It's never really been the spikes in home values. The last 2-3 years is probably the most I've ever seen. Even just from afar, it's never really been exaggerated. I think maybe just because of the, in the downtown areas, it's still values. There's still a lot of values in a lot of areas where you go to some places and it's not even realistic. Like you go to New York, LA, some other major markets. It's like you can't even touch those markets unless you've lived there and you've sold and you're just kind of moving from place to place. You don't have a lot of people moving in, and unless you are well-to-do. I mean, people that moved from Dallas and getting $600,000 house and try to go out to LA with that same proposition, you're not getting anything. It's not happening. You're not getting anything. Yeah. So kind of going back to the lobbyist, the land, you're working with a builder, and then what happens? So you get here, you come to Dallas. Yeah, I went to work for the Starwood Group, the Starwood Hotel Group that owned a company called Waypoint Homes. Okay. And Waypoint was a REIT that was buying homes for the rental market. Yep. Because of my new home background, they asked me to come on and buy new homes for them and put them into that rental market. Interesting. So I did that in Texas, Colorado, and Georgia for them. And now, were you buying those bulk? Yes. So you would go tell them. And how did the home builders feel about you buying? Well, initially they scoff at it, right? Yeah. And then they start to think about, okay, I'm saving interest payments on 6, 7, 8, 9 homes, right? So I can already discount those. Yeah. Right. We didn't need all the upgraded features, things like that. But they warmed to the idea of, wow, we can move a lot more homes. Mm-hmm. Yes, we're going to have to discount them, right? If someone's going to buy 9 or 10 of them. Mm-hmm. But our inventory is going to move fast. So it started to work until what you were describing over the last couple years. I started that, I think, in 13 maybe, where prices started to shoot up. So now they weren't too excited about giving those deep discounts because they could go make that profit as appreciation happened. But for the most part, they were warm to the idea. Yeah. And we were able to do a handful of deals here just in Dallas. And then from there, I moved on to Pulte Homes. Got back into buying land for Pulte. And the idea for me was I still didn't know the players in Dallas. Who are the brokers you got to get to know. And I was able to do that in short order. And once an entrepreneur becomes an entrepreneur, it's tough to put them back in that systematic box of corporate America. So I was like, okay, let's go back out. And was able to do that and started Nack Development in January of 16. So was the vision of Nack Development, did that happen over a course of time? Like when I purchased this company, this was, being an entrepreneur is something I've always wanted to do, but I had the golden handcuffs of being in a good job in a very emerging market. And I just, like you say, the entrepreneurship just outweighed even the risk of
doing something on my own. So I just jumped, and my family, it was like, my family already knew that I wanted to do something to that effect, but it's still, they got to have a lot of trust and love for you to make a jump for, you having a family and you going from a corporate environment where you're going to have 401k and these type of things, to, really being the buck stop here person and paying the bills for everybody, your team, and building your company.
So Torrey Hunter, former Major League Baseball player, great Major League Baseball player, has become a dear friend of mine, partner of mine. And he asked me once, he says, "Where's the most expensive place in the world?" Do you know the answer?
I would say Dubai.
The graveyard.
That's a good
right?
point.
It's where dreams get buried.
Yep.
Because so many people are afraid of taking the jump that you described.
Yep.
Right? Because friends, family are holding them back.
That's interesting.
Right? And they have all these great ideas, and those ideas die with them. Right? Because the hardest thing to do, I think you would agree, is to make that jump.
Yep.
Right? From that security to, I know this is going to work. I'm doing it.
Yep.
Right. And for me at the time, she's my wife now, was a girlfriend, fiance at the time. She was so supportive. Mm-hmm. Right. And she just kept telling me I could do it.
Yeah.
Right. You can do it. Right. You know what you're doing. So now just go do it.
Yeah.
And so I did that in Frisco. The first deal I bought was a conglomeration of 21 acres.
Okay.
On the west side of Frisco. They were zoned agriculture. I got it rezoned and remapped as a subdivision. Sold that to Bloomfield Homes, and the next step was,
when you sold it, did you put it on the market or did you just know some folks that?
I knew the guys.
You knew the guys
from my Pulte days.
Okay.
So I knew who to go talk to.
Okay.
And I knew what it was worth. Right. And I can residual back to what a home builder should pay because that's what I did.
Yeah.
Right. So if they could tell me they can't pay that, yes, you can.
Yeah, because
right?
You've seen that. Yeah.
Or they say we can't pay it because of this. You're right. Right. I can. Yeah. Okay, I agree with you. So that was an easy deal. The hard deal was what's the next play.
Yeah.
Right. And I kept getting beat out by D.R. Horton, by Beezer, by Pulte, by all these guys, Bloomfield. And that's how I ended up where I'm at, is the double dip frozen custard place and a car wash were for sale in downtown Frisco.
Yeah.
And I had a gentleman named Jeremy said, we should buy it. So I looked at it. I talked to Matt Calloway, known as Mr. Downtown for all the real estate transactions he's done down there. Mm-hmm. And we talked and he said, can you see it? Can you see it? I'm like, yeah, I can see it. From my first days in Frisco, the downtown was dead.
Yep.
Right. So I knew something had to happen, but that led to, it can't just be one project. Mm-hmm. Right. We have to redo this whole downtown, which has morphed into what it's becoming, what it is today. But that project, now known as the patios at the rail, was the catalytic project to get downtown going.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I used to drive through there. My office at the time was off of North Dallas Tollway and 121 at Granite Park Towers. We're on the penthouse floor of the building there. And so I would take, instead of taking 121 because it was so congested, I would take to get home down Main Street. Mm-hmm. And so I was very familiar with what was going on down there. And then when you purchased that and had the sign out front for a while, I just, I'm a real estate snob, so I'm always looking at different things that's going on down there, driving through the streets, seeing the opportunities. And I said, man, he's doing it the right way, because you got the kind of the anchor piece, and you start kind of building around it and creating the branding. So I always was, even from that first time you purchased it, I've seen a lot of those places around there, even from the coffee shop all the way to those little houses that are on the street they're trying to get sold. Yeah. So, I've been following you from afar, man. You're doing some good work down there.
Sure. I appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Knowing that we're creating this renaissance, right? And digging into the history of what it was. And there was a shop down there that was a drugstore, right, back in the 30s and 40s. And Fridays and Saturday nights around 10 p.m., everyone came into town.
Okay.
And they pulled out a piano. Someone would drive into town and maybe have a banjo or a guitar or violin or whatever,
So it's
saxophone.
just a jam session, huh?
But everyone was down there in the core, right, of Frisco.
Okay.
And they're just playing music, singing, having a great time. And there's a gentleman named Sam Roach who grew up in Frisco, told me these stories. And I was like, man, everyone just like vacated downtown for some reason and went north, south, east, west. And we're still sitting here where it was once the core of everything was happening right here. Mm-hmm. And now nothing's happening. And that's what we're changing.
Gotcha. So, how many things do you have going on down there right now?
Well, we have the patios at the rail, which is a mixed use deal. So it's got a parking garage, a park on top of the parking garage, bookend restaurants, retail, office, all on that project. I have the tower at the rail, which is 8 brownstones, and then a commercial component as well. We have what a lot of people knew as the Calaboose. We've renamed the Richie Gin. That will be starting hopefully this coming summer. Okay. Which is all office with 2 restaurants as well, about 135,000 square feet of office.
Wow. And where's that going to be? What's the cross streets there?
That is First and Frisco Square or First and Main. It's right up against the railroad
Okay. So is that where, so the railroads are there. That's where the towers, the mill looking
the
thing?
silo?
The silos?
It's catty corner from it. So it's other side of the tracks from the silos.
Gotcha.
And south of it.
Gotcha.
So those my 3. I have the Nack Theater under construction. We're hoping to have the first show there at the end of March.
Wow.
And then we have what was the Innovative Images building, where photography was done for about 25 years. We bought that. We're remodeling that into a restaurant with a rooftop terrace that'll overlook the city's future plaza. Then we bought what once was the Ford building. They used to sell the Ford Model Ts out of it in the 20s.
Where is that? Is that behind?
That is right on Main. It's at 5th and Main across the street from Randy's Steakhouse.
Okay, so I know where the Randy's is.
Yeah, so Randy's is on the northeast side. We're on the northwest side.
Okay.
Long rectangular building.
Gotcha.
We're also putting a plaza in next to that. And then we have a couple more projects we haven't announced yet that are coming to Frisco.
So obviously in doing a lot of this, you're the quarterback, and we're talking about sports analogies. Who's a part of your team and kind of supporting the design and the ideas? Is it coming from your idea? Do you have like a architecture team?
I just have a lot of smart people, to be honest. Yeah. And we get ideas from the rest of the country. Okay. Right? We'll go visit Greenville, South Carolina. My wife and I went to Fort Collins to see their downtown. Yeah. There's all these really cool downtowns.
Fort Collins, they designed Disney after.
Yeah, Fort Collins. And then there was another one in Missouri that also gave them that idea for downtown Disney. Yeah.
A buddy of mine lives in Fort Collins, really cool town, big breweries.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It's just you got the college there, you got the walkability is nice. It's got kind of a Asheville-ish type feel to it.
Very much so. But we have I've had her working with me now for 3 years, a lady named Kristen Green. Okay. With Placemakers Design. She does all my engineering and design work. She's fantastic. Yeah. But if she weren't a part of this, we would be light years behind where we are. Interesting. She's actually also a Louisville City Council member as well. Okay. So she understands city politics, understands planning, construction departments, things like that.
So do you do all of your city meetings and sit with the council and just how you have to present all your stuff? Do you do all that, or do you have somebody else?
Kristen will do the public talking. Mm-hmm. For the most part. Sometimes they specifically want me to talk, so I will. But just kind of sitting back and seeing how folks did it in Texas. It was usually the engineer presenting. Yeah. So I just followed that path. But I like to meet folks over coffee.
Yeah.
Right. Or a cocktail. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever they're comfortable with, I'm comfortable with. And let me get to know you. Right. Let me understand what value I could bring to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's talk about my projects and see if there's some synergy there. And with the city council members, they've been wanting to redo it for 30 years. They're downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand you want to redo it. I understand here are the guidelines that y'all have put out there.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we've come up with. Give me your feedback. Right. And it's been a lot of give and take. And, John Lettler with the city, he's the director of development services there, has also had a significant impact on our projects and how we design them. Matt Calloway, we already mentioned.
Yep.
He lives a block away from the patios.
Wow.
So he's having a lot of impact.
He's in it.
The Merchants Association, all those merchants down there. We're listening to everybody.
Yeah, trying to get feedback.
Yeah, folks. What do we need? What are we missing? How do we make this female centric?
Yeah.
Right, because that's how you activate an area. It's got to be female centric.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do we make it a place where I love this phrase of everybody's neighborhood?
Yeah.
Right, where you go there and you feel like it's your neighborhood and you're going to stay there all day.
Mm-hmm.
And you just ask the questions and get the feedback and you design after that.
I think it's interesting, you're building the park, which I didn't know that you were doing. I think that's probably the coolest thing that I've heard. And obviously the Nack development with the theater arts, I think that's a need down in that area as well. But just the park, there's not really a place that people can bring their families per se. You got some places further down in Preston and different areas, but I think just a community where you can hang out with the kids, go grab, coffee, ice cream, those kind of things in that area. It's gonna
Yeah, exactly. And the two bookend restaurants there, they have rooftop patios overlooking Main Street, and that park is expansive.
Okay.
It's going to be really neat for people to come, have dinner there, have lunch there, grab coffee, go up there and sip on their coffee. We'll have some pop-up concerts people aren't expecting.
That's awesome.
Some bands that everyone's heard of, but they wouldn't believe would just be popping up on that park, and 45 minutes later they're gone. Right. So we have a lot of ideas and plans for that area, as do the tenants that are going into the building, on how they can utilize it as well. So it's going to be really active and relaxing at the same time.
That's interesting. So in the Nack theater, is it going to be more performance arts, concerts, events? Is it similar to like the Granada kind of deal?
Yeah, so 32 weeks of it are for the Frisco Youth Theater.
Okay.
So they'll be performing there. They needed a home, so now they have one.
Okay.
So their performances will be there. The other 20 weeks, it's all-inclusive, right? Someone might have a wedding there. We might have a concert there. We might do comedy night there. And we have a lot of folks throughout the country who are connected to folks we know here in Frisco area that say, hey, we got to bring this entertainer into town. And the nice thing is we've designed it where we can remove all the seats, bring in high top tables, and now it's a comedy night, right? We can bring all the seats back in, we can rearrange them, and now it's a concert. We created a pit.
Is it a balcony area?
We had the balcony. We ended up having to remove the balcony.
Okay.
It'll seat about 210 folks.
Gotcha.
We're excited for that. You can have date night there, go out to dinner.
Yeah.
Right. Grab some drinks, hang out at the park. The park will be lit with string lighting and things like that.
Yeah.
It's sorely needed for the downtown.
For sure. And it sounds like you're getting a lot of feedback from other cities. I know on this podcast, we have a lot of different people listening across the country as well. What kind of feedback are you getting from other municipalities as well as other areas of the country are interested in maybe using your services?
That was our idea in the beginning was, hey, let's do Frisco right. And let's see where it leads. Mm-hmm. And from the beginning, we've had quite a few cities reach out to us asking us to do RFPs with them. And, I don't really participate in RFPs because I feel like it takes away from our innovativeness and our ability to design it the way we need to.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of cities from Texas all the way to the East Coast reach out to us saying, will you help us revitalize our downtown? And we absolutely plan to. but the team that we have, whether it's Torrey Hunter, another gentleman working with us, Matt Kemp, and Matt's really big into the arts.
From Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's right. Mid-Cities, Oklahoma, is part of it. Cliff Floyd, former player out in Fort Lauderdale, but does a lot of things in Chicago as well.
Okay.
We're talking about how do we scale this to the next city, but let's not rush into it, right? Let's make sure we can do it right. And, we've had a couple cities from Louisiana reach out to us, a lot of cities in Texas throughout the whole state wanting us to do that. But we're, for lack of a better word, picky on where we're going to go, because we want to make sure we can do it right, where the city's going to be proud of it.
Gotcha.
So we definitely plan on going to other cities. We do have a project in downtown Louisville we'll be doing next year. It's not to the scale of what we're doing in Frisco. It's one project as opposed to the downtown.
Yep.
This is just a project in the downtown. But yeah, we plan to expand to other cities within probably the next 12 to 18 months.
That's great, man. That's great. I mean, considering, you guys started the company 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years
Almost
ago.
4, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's worked out well, and it's a niche.
Yeah.
Right, we're passionate about downtowns and making them pedestrian friendly.
Yeah.
Right, where you want to go and not just grab a coffee, but you're gonna stay all day.
That's right.
Right, and that's what we're trying to create in Frisco, and anywhere we go, that's what we want to create.
Well, good stuff, man. Hey, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I think a lot of the folks that we have that watch the show will find value in what you do and maybe reach out and connect. And like I said, early next year, we're going to be having events and that kind of deal and expanding the reach, and hopefully we can do more.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to be a part of that, man. Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Donny Churchman.
Hey.
Thanks, man.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate it.